In the light of day, it's just another bridge. Steel and concrete stretching over dark, quiet water. But they say that after midnight, something changes. Drivers who cross it don't always see anything, not really. Sometimes they just feel it. The unnerving sensation of someone standing right behind them as they drive across. Texas is a state built on sheer distance. It's a land of long, empty roads, vast open skies, and countless bridges that connect places separated by miles of nothing. Many of these structures were built decades ago, some even earlier, designed purely for function, not for looks. Over the years, a few of them have gathered stories. Stories you won't find in any engineering report or transportation record, but in the quiet warnings shared between locals. This story centers on one such bridge. Its exact name changes depending on who you ask, which right away hints at the nature of what follows. Now, there are plenty of documented bridges across Texas with a reputation for being haunted. Accidents have happened on some. Others were built near old, forgotten settlements or waterways where people once lived, worked, and traveled. Those are verifiable facts. What isn't verifiable is what drivers claim to experience when they cross certain bridges long after the sun has gone down. According to the local accounts, this particular bridge is narrow by today's standards. It has old steel rails and a slight, gentle curve that blocks your view of what lies just ahead. During the day, it's completely unremarkable. Cars pass over it without a second thought. The water flows quietly beneath. Birds might perch along the railings. Nothing about it suggests any kind of danger. But at night, the experience transforms. Drivers say that about halfway across, the very air feels heavier, as if all sound has been suddenly muted. Your tires still hum on the concrete, your engine still runs, but something about the atmosphere just shifts. Some people describe a pressure building in their ears, almost like a sudden change in altitude. Others say their headlights seem to grow dimmer, even though the beams haven't actually changed at all. The most common version of the story involves a man driving home late after a long, grueling shift. He'd crossed this bridge hundreds of times before. It was part of his daily commute. But on this one night, he noticed something small, but deeply unsettling. As his car reached the very center of the span, his radio cut out, replaced by a wall of pure static. Now, this could easily be a coincidence. Bridges, especially older steel ones, are known to interfere with radio signals. But when he reached over to adjust the volume, the static didn't change. It stayed constant, a flat, dead sound, as if it were fixed in that one specific spot. And then he felt it, the distinct sensation of being watched. It wasn't exactly fear, he said. It was more like a sudden, sharp awareness. The feeling that someone was standing just outside his driver's side door, so close that he would have brushed right up against them if he dared to step out of the car. He kept his eyes locked on the road ahead, telling himself it was just exhaustion playing tricks on his mind. As he neared the end of the bridge, his headlights briefly flashed on something up ahead. He instinctively slowed down, expecting to see debris in the road or maybe an animal. But the road was completely clear. The moment his tires hit the solid ground on the far side of the bridge, the radio crackled back to life, the music returning as if nothing had happened. The feeling of being watched lifted instantly. He drove the rest of the way home without incident, his heart pounding in his chest. He didn't tell a soul about it for weeks, until one day a co-worker happened to mention the bridge casually, joking that it liked to mess with people. When he asked what his co-worker meant by that, the man's expression turned serious, and he asked a simple, chilling question: did you feel like you weren't alone? That same question appears in almost every retelling of this story. Another account comes from a couple who were driving across the bridge close to midnight. As they reached the center, the passenger, a woman, thought she saw movement in the rearview mirror, something tall and dark, standing on the bridge right behind their car. She quickly turned her head to look through the back window, but saw nothing but the empty road stretching out into the darkness. When she faced forward again, a sudden, intense chill ran right through her arms, making her shiver. She told herself it was just shadows, just her tired mind playing tricks on her. But when they got home and pulled into their driveway, she noticed something that made her blood run cold. There were hand-shaped condensation marks on the inside of the back window, as if someone had pressed their palms flat against the glass from within the car. Of course, there's no evidence to support this detail. Skeptics would argue that temperature differences and humidity can easily cause unusual condensation patterns. Still, that image of the handprints lingers in the local storytelling. The folklore surrounding this bridge often tries to connect these strange occurrences to some past accident or tragedy. Some versions of the tale mention a construction worker who fell to his death during the bridge's early building stages. Others talk about a terrible car wreck, a vehicle that went right over the edge decades ago. Its occupants never recovered from the dark water below. Public records do confirm that accidents have happened on bridges all across Texas, just as they have everywhere else. But what can't be confirmed is whether any specific, tragic event is directly tied to the stories that are told today. One version of the legend even claims the bridge was built over an old, ancient crossing point, a place used by travelers long before modern roads ever existed. If that were true, it would mean that generations of people have been passing through this same narrow, isolated space for centuries. But again, there's no documentation to prove this is the case for this specific bridge. What really stands out, what makes this story so compelling, is how similar all the experiences sound. Time and time again, drivers mention their radios cutting out in the exact same spot. Passengers describe a sudden drop in temperature or a feeling of pressure. Some say their mirrors briefly show a fleeting shape, a figure that disappears the moment they try to look at it directly. But none of these accounts include clear sightings. There are no detailed faces, no disembodied voices, no physical contact. Just a presence, an undeniable feeling that you are not alone. A local deputy once addressed the rumors publicly. He said, quite reasonably, that people often feel uneasy on bridges at night. You're suspended high over darkness, over unseen water, over wide open space. It's a naturally vulnerable position. He explained that when moving through the steel structure can alter sound in strange ways. Headlights can play tricks on your depth perception. In the absence of clear information, the human brain is wired to fill in the gaps, often with our worst fears. That logical explanation satisfies many people, but not everyone. One man claimed that he stopped his truck right on the bridge late one night after feeling dizzy and disoriented about halfway across. He said he stepped out of the cab just to get some fresh air and clear his head. The very moment his feet touched the pavement, he was hit with a wave of overwhelming dread, a feeling so powerful and terrifying that he scrambled back into his truck immediately. As he sped away, he glanced in his side mirror and thought he saw a dark figure standing in the exact spot where he had been just moments before. This account is completely unverified, was almost certainly influenced by fear and an overactive imagination, and yet it continues to circulate. What gives this story its chilling power is its restraint. Nothing dramatic ever happens. No one is ever chased. No one is ever harmed. The bridge doesn't trap people. It simply creates a moment, a brief, quiet, deeply unsettling moment where something feels fundamentally wrong without any logical explanation. This is how folklore so often survives and thrives. The less it shows, the more it invites our own imagination to do the heavy lifting. Residents who live near the bridge say they avoid walking across it at night, not necessarily because they believe something dangerous is waiting there for them, but because the silence on the bridge just feels unnatural. One resident described the feeling perfectly. She said it was like standing in the middle of a held breath. Whether this old Texas bridge is truly haunted is impossible to say for sure. There's no hard evidence beyond these personal anecdotes. No recordings, no photographs, no official reports that describe anything beyond normal infrastructure behavior. But the stories persist, passed down from person to person because people keep having these same, strangely similar experiences. If you ever find yourself driving across a long, narrow bridge, late at night in the heart of Texas when the road ahead is empty, and your radio suddenly fades to static, you might just begin to understand why the locals grip their steering wheels a little tighter. Not because they're afraid of what might appear in front of them, but because they're afraid of what might be standing just out of sight close enough to feel. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales from the shadows. Stay safe out there.